Good evening. I'd like to call this meeting of the York City Planning Commission to order. May we have a roll call?
Johnson,
Present.
Davis, absent, or excused. Velez,
Present.
Burgos, Wolf,
Present.
Richardson, absent, and Gaines is absent.
Thank you. It's noted we have a quorum. Minutes from the previous meeting. Has everyone had a chance to review them? Is there a motion to accept?
I make a motion to accept the minutes.
Second.
Motion second. Any further discussion? Hearing none. Roll call.
Johnson,
Aye.
Velez, Burgos, Wolf.
Aye.
Committee reports, zoning hearing board. Everyone received their reports by email? Okay. Any unfinished business? It's noted that Maribel Burgos and Matthew Davis were both reappointed by the City Commission as members, so I congratulate them for that. Proposed redevelopment overlay.
Okay, so we just agreed to keep that on the agenda. Do you have anything else to say on it, Blanda, or anything? We were just going to keep it on as an action item.
Aye.
I'm Blandon Ace. I was under the impression that tonight it was going to be recommended to move forward to City Council. I did not know that it was tabled. I watched I wasn't at the last Planning Commission meeting, but I did view it several times.
Are you all comfortable with moving it forward, the overlay?
Moving forward the overlay.
No, Jeff's not here to answer questions.
No? I'm
Yeah,
not.
the last time I noticed that she was here, there weren't a lot of questions, and I was expecting it tonight to come either to see Jess here to answer any questions, or,
I thought she said she was coming back.
yeah, that's why I came, because I was expecting to be here with her.
I haven't
And
heard
then I didn't hear a lot of, you had a good discussion with her, and I think she clarified a lot. But I was expecting a motion to forward it to City Council to start the process for the official Planning Commission review and the City Council public hearing on the matter to involve the public. I wasn't aware, Nancy, that it's, what did you say? Just leaving it on there?
Yeah, for any more other questions or anything like that, but let me see if I can contact her, because I do have her number. So, and text her and see if she was gonna come. We can move her to the end of the agenda if she is.
Okay, thank you.
Am I incorrect in understanding that we should have a public meeting before we forward it to council?
These are all your public meetings, but City Council is required to have a public hearing.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that'll be part of that as well, yeah.
Okay.
I think it's just city council for that one.
I'm sorry, Nancy, what was that?
I thought it was just the meetings, that these were considered the public meetings, and then the hearings for city council.
We didn't have any public input, though. We just had discussions. Yeah. Make a motion.
I make a motion to table the proposed redevelopment overlay to the end of the meeting.
Motion second. Any further discussion? Can we have a roll call?
Johnson,
Aye.
Velez,
Aye.
Burgos, Wolf,
Aye.
Richardson.
Okay. Okay, our first case this evening is 244 through 252 North George Street, Royal Square. We'll hear from staff first, and the applicant could step forward, please.
He's the applicant.
Do you have a report?
You all got all that, what you have in there is for, everything that was there on the review, my review letter and, site design concepts, answers to all the questions. Do you have that one, with you at all? You don't?
It was submitted, I thought it was distributed.
And could you give your name for the record?
Sure. Dylan Bauer, Royal Square Development and Construction, 29 South Duke Street.
I have it. Could you give us an outline of what you're proposing here?
Sure. 252 to 256 North George, 244 to 252 North George is 4 parcels, previously or currently townhomes. And the plan is to eventually redevelop that as a kind of a postage stamp corner. And doing so by consolidating them, it just puts us in a better position for redevelopment, for square footage, and just the layout is much more conducive for new position.
Are you proposing a new construction or what?
Not at this time, no.
Okay. Has the question of the adjacent alley been cleared up as far as ownership?
Yes. I was told so. This morning I was told it was.
Okay.
Have you had any success addressing the issue with the electric poles? I know there was like,
We had a little bit of movement with MedEd today. They finally responded. This has been a 6-year attempt to get them to work with us, but nothing concrete or exciting to update. But they are responding. They've had a pretty big turnover in MedEd local, like complete turnover. So now that we know who to actually contact and try monthly, we're getting somewhere. But what Ms. Richardson is suggesting is we have 2 very large utility poles in front of the building with 3-phase power that really would prevent any living space. I mean, it's as close as I am to this chair, 3-phase converters, so it's just not safe. And they were vacant buildings. When Codo was developed, Codo 241, they were relocated from the east side of George Street to the west side, but they put it next to a nice window that can't be used. So our intent is to relocate them to the north side of North Street on the parking lot that's used by York Academy right now. But in the meantime, we'd like to reverse subdivide these parcels into one so that we have one solid developable site.
Okay. Are there any further questions? Anyone from the public that would like to address this case? Hearing none, do we have a motion on the subdivision reverse subdivide motion?
I make a motion to recommend approval of the subdivision plan to reverse subdivide 4 parcels into one per section 1333.03 for the properties at 244 through 252 North George Street.
a second.
Motion second, any further discussion? Roll call, please.
Johnson,
Aye.
Velez.
Aye.
Burgos. Wolf.
Aye.
Richardson.
Thank you, sir. Next case is 525 East Market Street, Clinton Industries.
So this is, you have in your package, so they came before us, a pre-development, and then we, well, actually, the city engineers drove down Philadelphia Street to their entrance. So Market Street, their entrance on Market Street is pristine. It's very good. It's in very good shape. The entrance on Philadelphia Street, which is right by the daycare, the sidewalk is really, really bad. The curbing is really, really bad. So in lieu of their waiver for the land development, they have agreed to fix that, to correct that as part of the project of their addition on Clinton Industries at 525 East Market Street.
Good evening.
I'm Nick Bradenball with Clinton Industries.
And would you like to give us any further details on what you're proposing?
We were just looking for a land development waiver for the addition. The sidewalk that was brought up, we were aware of this late last year, but we ran into winter months, so we didn't get any quotes. I've already received 3 quotes to get it replaced, or I should say, I met with 3 people. I received 1 quote early this morning, and I'm waiting on the other 2. And pretty much as soon as I get those back, I have the owner's permission to go ahead and get that repaired well ahead of scheduled construction for the addition.
Okay. Any questions? Anyone from the public that would like to address this case? Hearing none, do we have a motion on the waiver?
I move to recommend to approve a waiver of the land development plan with the condition that the curb and sidewalk along East Philadelphia Street be replaced as a part of this project.
Second?
Who's second? You.
Do I have to say the section number?
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Pursuant to section number 1336.03.
Second?
Motion second, any further discussion? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Johnson,
Aye.
Velez.
Aye.
Burgos. Wolf.
Aye.
Richardson.
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you, sir. Zoning appeals. Our first case tonight is 4-2024-Z-V, 650 West Market Street.
All right, the applicant and owner is Jose Rojas of 2846 A Street, Eureka, California. I believe he's a representative because Mr. Rojas couldn't make it here tonight. It's in the UN 1 Urban Mixed Residential Commercial District. Summary, the proposed project looking to put 2 apartments on the first floor. It's commercial residential now, would like to just make it residential. Okay, variance appeal 1. The applicant seeks a dimensional variance permitted by the zoning ordinance in this district. Staff have reviewed the variance provision of 1311.10.d and finds that the property is big enough for the proposed 2 additional units. Therefore, staff recommends approval of dimensional variance to allow an additional 2 apartments for a total of 5 units for the property at 650 West Market Street.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Could you provide your name for the record, please?
Mayor Lawrence.
And could you give us a few more details on what you're proposing here?
What he's proposing is he wants to turn his, instead of having a commercial unit, he wants to turn it into 2 apartment buildings, 2 apartments, so he can basically rent them out.
Was an attempt made to lease the commercial space as commercial?
I think there was, and it's just not working out for him. So he don't want to do it no more. I think he tried it before, like to rent it, to lease it out to somebody, and it just didn't, the business part didn't pan out. So he wants to try to make it a residential, see if he can go with that.
How long has it been empty?
The downstairs has been empty, as far as I know, it's been empty for 6 years. Like, he actually tried, like, when I have a conversation with him, he did say he had people actually use it, and it's just, like, the business aspect didn't turn out. Like, I guess when he, just say, like, somebody tried to do a store or something, they didn't make no money, so they didn't pay him, so he had to put them out and stuff. However, whatever business venture he had with other people didn't pan out, so he was like, I'm gonna go residential. I don't have no problems renting out the upstairs, so I'm gonna try to go residential.
How many apartments are there currently in the building?
3.
And you said it is big enough for 2 units?
Any other questions? Anyone from the public that would like to address this case? Hearing none, is there a motion?
I make a motion to recommend approval of a dimensional variance to convert the first floor commercial space into 2 units as defined in section 1304.01-1.02.002B.4 at 650 West Market Street in the UN1 zoning district.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, may we have a roll call?
Johnson.
Aye.
Velez. Burgos.
Aye.
Wolf.
Aye.
Richardson.
Aye.
Motion is approved. Thank you, sir. I understand 800 East Market Street was postponed.
Yes, she contacted me and asked could they postpone it till March, and they did sign the waiver of extension.
Motion on that?
I don't think so. Well, yeah, because we don't advertise. We don't have to advertise, so. I'm just gonna put it on March's agenda. I guess you would have to vote if they didn't show up, if they just didn't show up. But I had prior notice.
Is there a motion to table this case? 800 East Market.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second. Who said that? Who said? Oh, sorry. Who
Motion
seconded?
second. Any
Okay.
further discussion? Roll call.
Johnson.
Aye.
Velez.
Aye.
Burgos.
Aye.
Wolf.
Aye.
Richardson.
Motion carries. Next case is 6-2024-Z-SE-V, 800 West King Street.
Applicant and owner is the same, Cezadu Novelli. 232 Prospect Street, York, PA 17403, zoning district, UN2, urban residential neighborhood district. The summary, the applicant purchased 800 West King Street, York, PA, about 10 years ago as a 2-unit property. They have maintained the property as it was purchased. However, recently the city found the issue with maintenance okay, yeah, I see that. The property as a 2-unit. They want to inform that prior to us purchasing the property, it was already converted into a 2-unit property. Therefore, they maintained as such. You gotta read this. Recently, the city asked them to file a zoning determination request to keep the property as 2-unit. Unfortunately, the city did not approve and asked us to apply for the zoning hearing board appeal. Thus, the reason for this application, we would like for the city to consider their position on the property. We would like for the city to leave the property as a 2-unit since we purchased it as such 10 years ago. Variance 1, the applicant seeks definition variance since the proposed use does not meet the ordinance requirement of the conversion from industrial, institutional, or commercial. The property is a single family home. Staff have reviewed the variance or provision of 1311.10.d. Therefore, staff recommends denial of a dimensional variance to allow 2 units for the property at 800 West King Street. Variance 2, the applicant seeks a dimensional variance since the proposed density is less than permitted by the zoning ordinance in this district. Staff have reviewed the variance provision of 1311.10.d and finds the property is big enough for the proposed 2 units. Therefore, staff recommends approval of a dimensional variance to allow 2 apartments for the property at 800 West King Street. Variance 3, the applicant seeks a variance to the special exception condition that the property has not been vacant for 2 years of section 1311.10 11 subsection C. Therefore, staff recommends approval of a variance to the special exception condition of the property being vacant for 2 years for the property at 800 West King. Variance for the zoning variance. The zoning ordinance required 3 off-street parking spaces for the proposed 2 units, and the applicant can provide only 2. The applicant is seeking a variance to reduce the number of off-street parking spaces. Staff has reviewed the variance provision in 1311.10.d and finds that the property does not have unique physical circumstances or conditions that warrant relief from the requirement of 1.5 parking spaces per dwelling unit. Therefore, staff recommends denial of a variance to the minimum number of parking spaces required for a multifamily dwelling for the property at 800 West King Street. Special exception for the use. Zoning ordinance permits multifamily conversion from a different use by special exception in the zoning district in 1304.1.1.02.002. Staff has reviewed the special exception provision for this property. Therefore, staff recommends approval of the request for a special exception to allow multifamily dwelling at 800 West King Street, pending all variances are approved.
Good evening. Could you provide your name, please?
My name is Sergeant Valen.
And could you give us a little more information on what you're proposing here?
Yeah, we got the house like 10 years ago. It was like 2 units, but we decided to see if we could keep it like two unit, like a single family. Consider single family come 2 unit.
Are you currently renting out?
Yes, yes.
I think my question is more directed towards staff. What happens to trigger this?
I guess when he must have went to renew his rental, and Michelle looked it up in the system, she seen that it was single family, but it has 2 apartments there. So then she made him go through zoning to get it legally 2 units.
But when he purchased it, it was not zoned as a 2 unit? It was only as a single family?
Sold as a 2 unit.
Okay. Okay.
Has it been inspected and licensed as a, like, it has its tenant occupied license for the past 10 years? And this only became?
It must not have, because if they would have been caught, ever since we went to OpenGov and everything's right there on the page. They would have seen it. So I don't know how it slipped through the cracks. I just know it ended up with me.
I think because I actually, in the summary part, I just cut and pasted what this gentleman had said. Sounds to me as if it was never licensed and inspected, period, for the past 10 years. But he had some maintenance problems that the PMIs caught, and then that triggered it to say, hey, you know, you got 2 apartments in here and it's not even it hasn't even been licensed and inspected. Would that be fair to say, sir?
Yeah,
For the maintenance, they caught some maintenance problems and then found out that the property was not inspected as a tenant occupied.
no, all the time been inspected, but you know, anytime you go inspected, they always find something, tell you to correct it, to come back re-inspect it, that only thing. But since I purchased the property, always inspected every 2 years.
Does it have separate meters for each apartment?
Yes.
Utilities comes out and does it without checking.
Any other questions? Anyone from the public that would like to address this case? Hearing none, do we have a motion on the variance?
I make a motion to recommend approval of a variance to the definition of a multifamily conversion from a different use as defined in section 1304.01-1.02.002A at 800 West King Street in the UN2 zoning district.
A second.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Johnson,
Aye.
Velez,
Aye.
Burgos,
Aye.
Wolf,
Aye.
Richardson.
Motion is approved. Do we have a motion for the dimensional variance?
I make a motion to recommend approval of a dimensional variance for multifamily conversion from a different use found in section 1304.01-1.02.002 to include conversion of a single-family home into 2 units for the property at 800 West King Street in the UN2 zoning district.
A second.
Any further discussion? Roll call, please.
Johnson,
Aye.
Velez,
Aye.
Burgos,
Aye.
Wolf,
Aye.
Richardson.
Aye.
Motion is approved. We have a motion for the variance for minimal number of parking spaces.
We have to do the special exception first. Oh, or is it different on the variance appeal?
Yeah.
Okay.
Variance to the special exception provision. The vacant for 2-year one.
I make a motion to recommend approval of a variance to waive the special exception provision, that is, that the property must have been vacant for 2 years found in section 1311.11C1 for the property located at 800 West King Street in the UN2 zoning district.
Second.
Motion second, further discussion? Hearing none. Roll call, please.
Johnson,
Aye.
Velez,
Aye.
Burgos,
Aye.
Wolf,
Aye.
Richardson.
Aye.
We still need a motion for the parking.
I make a motion to recommend approval of a variance to the required off-street parking spaces found in section 1304.01-1.02.002 for the property at 800 West King Street in the UN2 zoning district.
A second.
Any further discussion? Roll call, please.
Johnson,
Aye.
Velez,
Aye.
Burgos,
Aye.
Wolf,
Aye.
Richardson.
Aye.
We still need that? I thought we just did it.
I think listed on here was out of order. We still have one more.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yep, I make a motion to recommend approval of a special exception to allow multifamily use as defined in section 1304.01-1.02.002 at 800 West King Street in the UN2 zoning district.
I second.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Johnson,
Aye.
Velez,
Aye.
Burgos,
Aye.
Wolf,
Aye.
Richardson.
Aye.
Motion is approved. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Our next case is 27-2024-Z-SE-V, 1215 East Market Street.
Applicant and owner the same, GSF Properties, Derek Shaw, 1300 East Market Street, York, PA 17403. Zoning district, UN1, Urban Mixed Residential Commercial District. The summary, the applicant proposes to use the property as a rooming house. Some of the bedrooms are smaller than the minimum square footage of 250 square feet required by the zoning ordinance. The applicant can provide the required 4 off-street parking space, and the applicant is seeking 2 variants to provisions of the use and 1 special exception to allow the use. Variance 1, the applicant seeks a variance that requires him or her to live at the property. The applicant does not live at the property. Staff has recommended denial of the variance to waive the requirement that a rooming house be owner-occupied as defined in section 1304.2-7.17.B3 at the structure at 1215 East Market Street in the UN1 zoning district. variance to the zoning ordinance requires that within a rooming house, each room for rent be at least 250 square feet in area. This bedroom is existing and likely the same size as its original construction. The applicant has not altered the property. Staff has recommended approval of a variance to allow a rental room smaller than 250 square feet as defined in section 1304.2-7.17.B1 at the structure at 1215 East Market Street in the UN1 zoning district. Special exception for use. The zoning ordinance permit by special exception a rooming house in the zoning district. Staff has reviewed the rooming house special exception in 1304.02.7.17. Staff recommends approval of the special exception if all variances are approved.
Good evening. Could you provide your names, please, for the record?
Derek Shaw.
Cody Godfrey.
And could you tell us a little more what you're proposing?
Yep, so this property has been sitting vacant for a few years, and we are looking to operate rooms as a rooming house. The building is very, it's a good size. It's around 5,000 square feet. And I do want to make the comment, I believe we do need a variance to operate more than 6 rooms per building, if that's correct, because we are looking to operate 18 rooms out of this building.
I'm sorry, how many?
How many rooms?
18,
18?
yeah.
Oh, wow.
That's a whole other variance.
Didn't realize that there was
That'd be a
18
variance.
rooms. So,
It's a huge house.
Yeah, it's a big house. We operate 14 rooming houses all in York County, 9 of which are in the city, and about half of them are close to 18 units. Most of them are around 15. So, most of them are pretty much on this size scale.
You guys were here a few months ago. You bought like a catalog from someone else.
Yeah, back in, I think it was last April, I believe.
you bought Bill Price's
Correct, yep.
places, yeah.
Yeah.
So this would be more of like an upscale rooming house. Those would do the job, but we own, over on the Spring Garden side, there's 3 on Market Street, right down past Turkey Hill, and we own all 3 of those, so we know the area super well, and there's a huge demand for them.
So there's a first floor, second, and third, no basement.
There is a basement also.
Yeah, but I mean, for rooming.
Right, correct, yeah.
I'm sorry, did you say you're proposing rooming in the basement?
No.
Oh, okay.
So, Mike, how do you want to do this? Do you want me to write that into the minutes that they want a variance for 18?
18, correct.
18 rooms over, above the 6 that is allowable.
We need we did not advertise this case, correct?
I don't have to advertise for planning.
Okay, we're still gonna need a motion to approve.
Right. I'm just saying I can write that in and write that in for the, on the minutes then.
Yeah.
Okay, so we'll do that one first then, the number of units, because it doesn't matter.
Do you know the section on that?
Oop, hold on.
Have you guys considered traditional 1-2 bedroom apartments at all for this property?
Yeah, we definitely have. So the top floor, the second and third floor are 2 separate apartments, and then the first floor is always used as some type of business in the past. But unfortunately, just the way like market rents are, it just wouldn't justify renting out the apartments, unfortunately.
What do you estimate the rental cost would be?
For per room?
No, for the individual apartments.
Oh, probably around 1,300.
Have you considered breaking those into just like smaller size apartments?
it wouldn't work that way, unfortunately, the way the layout is. Because then we would have to add kitchens and bathrooms and all that up there too.
Can you tell me about the common areas?
So there's, let's see. There's common areas around the kitchen area, and then in the main primary, I would say, staircase area. Other than that, most of everywhere else is already rooms that would be operated as room rentals.
So the real common areas are kitchens and bathrooms.
Yeah.
So, in your proposal to do 18 rooms, are there rooms that you have to walk through in order to access?
No.
There would be no walk-through rooms.
And how many kitchens are there going to be?
Right now, there are 3 kitchens, and they're all going to be staying.
And how many bathrooms?
There is.
18 people.
Yeah, give me one sec here. It would be 4 bathrooms.
To put that into comparison, 1300 East Market Street, right beside Turkey Hill, there are 3 bathrooms there and 3 kitchens, and there's 15 rooms there.
Okay.
Do we have a section number for
I
the?
do, I do. Do you want me just to read it?
Yes, please.
Okay, thank you. All righty. So is everybody, are you ready to do the first one?
As soon as you read it.
Okay. Okay, so recommend approval or denial to increase the number of the maximum number of rooms from 6 to 18 as defined in section 1304.02-7.17B1 at 1215 Market Street in the UN1 zoning district.
Do we have a motion?
I make a motion to approve what she just said.
What she just said.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? Well, first of all, anyone from the public that would like to address this case? Hearing none, any further discussion? A roll call, please.
Johnson.
Aye.
Velez.
Aye.
Burgos.
Aye.
Wolf.
Aye.
Richardson.
I vote no.
Motion is approved.
Okay, and you got the rest of them, right? That are
Yes.
typed there, right? Okay.
I recommend, make a motion to approve a variance that the building shall be occupied by the owner as defined in section 1304.02-7.17.B3 at 1215 East Market Street.
Second.
Any further discussion? Roll call, please.
Johnson.
Aye.
Davis. I'm sorry, Velez.
Aye.
Burgos.
Aye.
Wolf.
Aye.
Richardson.
I vote no.
Do we have a variance for the rooming house?
No, the variance is for the rooms larger
Oh,
than 250.
sorry.
Yep.
250 square feet.
I make a motion to approve the variance that each room be larger than 250 square feet as defined in section 1304.02-7.17.B1 at 1215 East Market Street.
Second.
Any further discussion? Roll call.
Johnson.
Aye.
Velez.
Aye.
Burgos.
Aye.
Wolf.
Aye.
Richardson.
I vote no.
Motion is approved. Do we have a motion for the special exception?
I make a motion to accept a special exception to allow the rooming house as defined in section 1304.02-7.17 at 1215 East Market Street.
Second.
Who seconded it? I'm sorry.
I second.
Okay.
Any further discussion?
Yes, I know we've typically put the stipulation, if agreed upon by the owners, to revert it back upon sale, correct? That's what we've been doing, right?
Do you want to reread that into there, Maribel?
Sure. So amended.
What's the
Well,
wording?
first, we have to ask them if they'd be
Oh.
accepting of that.
Well, before we get that far, when you purchased it, was it sold to you as a rental unit or a single family?
So it's under contract now. We didn't purchase it yet.
How was it marketed to you?
I don't even really know what it's marketed as.
I mean,
I think it's commercial downstairs and 2 apartments upstairs, I believe.
Mixed use then?
Yeah.
All right, I'm
I
sorry.
have a question on that. If it's under contract now and say something falls through with your contract, are we then giving the current owner the ability to run this as a rooming house if we approve this?
So no, you can specify in there, so we have 2 ways that you can come to a zoning appeal. If you own it and it's deeded, or if you have a sales agreement, and they have a sales agreement. So you can read that into it, that the current applicant has a sales agreement, and I don't know how you want to word that. If they choose not to purchase the property, then so if they choose not to buy it for some reason, then the next person can't sell it as a rooming house anyway. So the sale would fall through, and it would be new people wanting to purchase it or whatever. It's been sitting for a while. I know it had some other interest. So, so just read it as the same. If the applicant goes through with the sales agreement and purchases the property, that if they decide to sell
You're
it.
talking really fast.
Okay, I'm sorry.
So you can either read it, and then I'll make a motion on it.
Oh, okay.
Maribel, before you begin, you have to withdraw your motion.
Okay. I'll make a motion to withdraw my last motion.
And does the second agree?
And you too,
Yes.
Corey? Okay.
Thank you.
All right. So, it would read, you recommend to approve or deny a special exception to allow the rooming houses defined in section 1304.02-7.17 at 215 East Market Street in the UN1 zoning district, with the condition, if the applicant would sell the property, it would need to be turned back into a mixed-use commercial combined with apartments, mixed use. Because that's what they said it was.
I'll make a motion and add in that if the sales agreement falls through, it will also be returned back to mixed use.
Yep, got it.
Second?
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Roll call, please.
Johnson,
Aye.
Velez,
Aye.
Burgos,
Aye.
Wolf,
Aye.
Richardson.
I vote no.
And the motion is approved. Thank you, gentlemen.
thank you.
Thank you.
Next case is 8-2024-Z-SE-V, 802 South Duke Street.
Okay, 802 South Duke Street, applicant owner, same Abner Desir, 800 South Duke Street, York, PA, 17403. The zoning district is RS2, single family attached residential conservation district. The summary. Applicant would like to convert a single-family dwelling into a two-unit multifamily dwelling. The variance appeal. The applicant seeks a definition variance since the proposed use does not meet the ordinance requirements of a conversion from industrial, institutional, or commercial. The property is a single-family home. Staff has reviewed the variance provision of 1311.10.d. Therefore, staff recommends denial of a definition variance to allow 2 units for the property at 802 South Duke Street. Variance appeal 2, the applicant seeks a dimensional variance since the proposed density is less than permitted by the zoning ordinance in this district. Staff has reviewed the variance provision of 1311.10.d and finds the property is big enough for the proposed 2 units. Therefore, staff recommends approval of a dimensional variance to allow 2 apartments for the property at 802 South Duke Street. Variance appeal 3. The applicant seeks a variance to the special exception condition that the property has not been vacant for 2 years of section 1311.11 subsection D. Therefore, staff recommends approval of a variance to the special exception condition of the property being vacant for 2 years for the property at 802 South Duke Street. Variance appeal 4, the zoning ordinance requires 3 off-street parking spaces for the proposed 2 units, and the applicant can only provide 2. The applicant is seeking a variance to reduce the number of off-street parking spaces. Staff have reviewed the variance provision in 1311.10.d and finds that the property does not have unique physical circumstances or conditions that warrant relief from the requirement of 1.5 parking spaces per dwelling unit. Therefore, staff recommends denial of the variance to the minimum parking spaces required for a multifamily dwelling for the property of 802 South Duke Street. Special exception 1, use. The zoning ordinance permits multifamily conversion from a different use by special exception in this zoning district in section 1304.1.1.02.002. Staff has reviewed the special exception provision for this property. Therefore, staff recommends approval of the request for a special exception to allow multifamily dwelling at 802 South Duke Street, pending all variances are approved.
Good evening. Could you provide your names for the record, please?
Abner Dizzy.
Ma'am?
That's his name.
Oh, okay. Could you provide your name, please?
My name is Lydia Michelle.
Okay. And could you give us some more information on what you want to do here?
Kayla si tout yon moi séparé pour faire pour tout yon it one unit na mettre tout yon
It is a 1 unit, but he would like to convert it into 2 units.
Can he provide us how the building would be divided into apartments? First floor, second floor, or what?
Comment on divise les deux premiers?
Il déjà divisé déjà.
It's already divided.
I'm sorry?
It's already divided.
As 2 units?
Yeah.
Yes.
First floor, second floor, or what?
Yes.
Yes, first floor and second floor.
Was it purchased that way?
Et qu'on soit acheté?
Non, pas acheter comme ça.
No.
Faire comme ça.
He's the one that converted it into 2 units.
In the photos that he provided, okay, I don't see a fire escape for the second floor in the back.
Wagan ken kote si ta gen di fe moun ka soti. Men de a suppose gen mache skali pou second di fe moun ka soti.
Oui, gen mache skali, gen galeri pa de
Wagan.
Oui, gen.
He said it does has a fire escape.
It does or does not?
It does.
I don't see it in the photo, though.
Pou kote?
Pa de li gen.
Ouve.
Yo ba we, lan plan. Men li gen li.
Parce ouwe mache skali kon gen ou ka deson li.
Li gen one couloir in the back.
Soit de mache skali ou ka deson li. Pou te pou moun nan ka soti si gen di fe.
you see one?
There's no fires.
Huh?
There is no fire escape.
Yeah, he just realized that it doesn't have it. So we'll have to add that to the property.
Non, va gen, va
But
gen.
that would be something, like you're saying, that would be something in its inspection time. Get it out.
Are the utilities already split between 2 units?
C'est pour baga courant, tout baga séparé.
Yes.
Yeah, it does.
You got foodness.
And the windstorm came.
Are there any further discussions, questions, I mean? If this is approved this evening without without the fire escape, how long would he have to replace one there?
He would not be able to pass inspection without one. So he would have to do it before he get his inspection, or he won't pass.
Is there currently anybody living in the property?
Est-ce qu'il y a un qui rete dans kala kounye?
Yes.
As a 2-unit?
Yes.
So does this automatically trigger another inspection?
I think once they converted it and everything, and Michelle and them caught it, and he thought he was doing everything legal, so she told him how to do it legal. So that's when he did the zoning determination, then the appeal, you know, because he didn't know what he was doing. He just knew he wanted to make 2 units. So, but with him doing all this, it's a change of use, so then he will have to get another certificate of occupancy and all of that. So, yes, it will go through the BCO, and then they will inspect it. And depending on if he pass or fail, but if we give him approval, he will have to have that fire escape put on there before the inspection.
So he purchased it as a single family and divided it himself?
Yeah.
Et problème gen 800 li tou yonè, c'est pour moi 800 et di étendu li tou yonè et di autre tout et di
Et pas seulement des ou les mois de sauter acheter les.
non, pas d'acheter tou yonè.
Yeah, he didn't purchase it as 2 unit. He purchased as a single family house.
Puisque ça de côté de tou yonè, m'pas c'est ça.
C'est supposé gagner licence pour ça.
Do you know how this case came before us? Because he's owned it for 10 years?
Yeah, because when he went to turn it into 2 units and set it up to get inspected, that's when Michelle caught the red flag. It was only supposed to be 1. So he, you know what I mean, with the language barrier, he wasn't understanding. So then that's when we had to make him, well, not make him, like, getting to understand that it's a process he had to go through to turn it into 2 units and everything. And then once he understood, that's when he started doing the zoning determination, then the appeal. But that was already after he had already started the work. So that's why we're here at this stage. But I don't know if the work was completed or not before he did the zoning determination. I just know that's how it came to me.
You said there's already two utilities. The light bills are separate and the.
The baga
Il y a
separe gaz,
furnace, everything séparé.
everything is separate.
But this process started because he was going to get an inspection?
Yeah, he tried to set up inspection for 2 units, but the property was only supposed to be for 1.
So it was
So
already
that's what
lic-
stopped everything.
And it was already licensed as a rental then?
Yes.
Okay.
How do you feel about this?
Well, it seems to me that they're trying to be on the up and up about this, which is why they were going through the tenant occupied process in the first place. I think our regulations aren't always clear around what is supposed to be the proper order of business when you're trying to go this route. So I think being here today is an example of good faith that we can trust there will be a fire escape.
And doesn't, maybe one of our kind of like, one of the ways that we
And
think
again,
about things is the
utilities goes in
financial
and separates it without.
Well, that's not a requirement to rent a property. You don't have to have separate utilities.
And we can't solve that problem
I
today.
know, but I'm saying, the
but-
utility always comes in and just gives everybody.
Yeah, but that's not a requirement to rent.
No, she's saying the utility companies just do it to do it.
Yeah.
I guess my question is, if we approve this evening, I know he has to go through inspection, he has to get the fire escape, but what's the period of time he's allowed in order to have this accomplished?
That's not up to me. That'd be up to Michelle and them.
Okay.
They likely already, if he already went through the inspection, they probably already told him, you have to do this, but first you have to come to us, so they're probably working with him to get him. Yeah, they probably said you gotta get this before we can even give you your inspection. So it's probably just like they're waiting on him, but they usually are on top of it, so they'll see, like the PMIs as they're in the streets, they'll see, and they'll be aware to know to follow back up on this.
And
So
that's
it might be some time, but it will be followed.
He's gonna have to go through a whole permitting process too, isn't he, to get?
Yes. He has to go through the whole process.
Okay.
And that question has nothing to do with anything today, but that metal elevator in the front, would that be taken down?
There's a metal elevators?
The lift.
Kote yo gon sot de chez ou ka, kote yo ka leve chez la, ou ka retirel?
Devant,
Yeah.
et oui, li devant. Oui,
Does
m'ka
it
retire.
work?
Oui, m'ka retire.
Est-ce le travail?
Te gen yon moun ki te habite la dan, ki te use.
Non, c'est le travail.
Yeah, it good.
Yeah, it work.
It works?
And it can be
Yeah.
removable, yeah.
Yeah, it good.
Oh, that's fine.
That's a wrench to somebody with a handicap.
Any further questions? Do we have a motion on the first variance appeal?
I move to recommend to approve a variance to the definition of multifamily conversion from a different use as defined in section 1304.01-1.02.002A at 802 South Duke Street.
I second.
Any further discussion? Roll call?
Johnson.
Aye.
Velez.
Aye.
Burgos.
Aye.
Wolf.
Aye.
Richardson.
Aye. I move to recommend to approve a dimensional variance for multifamily conversion from a different use found in section 1304.01-1.02.002 to include conversion of a single-family home into 2 units for the property at 802 South Duke Street.
I second.
Any further discussion? Roll call?
Johnson.
Aye.
Velez.
Aye.
Burgos.
Aye.
Wolf.
Aye.
Richardson.
Aye. I move to recommend to approve a variance to waive the special exception provision that the property must have been vacant for 2 years found in section 1311.11C1 for the property located at 802 South Duke Street.
Any further discussion? Roll call, please.
Johnson.
Aye.
Velez.
Aye.
Burgos. Wolf.
Aye.
Richardson.
Aye.
Motion for the parking?
I move to recommend to approve a variance to the required off-street parking spaces found in section 1304.01-1.02.002 for the property at 802 South Duke Street.
Further discussion?
I've got a question. It's kind of related to parking, but kind of the overlay as well. Isn't this something we talked about for the overlay too? About
Reducing that?
reducing the, yeah, okay. Thanks.
Roll call, please.
Johnson.
Aye.
Velez.
Aye.
Burgos. Wolf.
Aye.
Richardson.
Aye.
Motion is
move-
approved. Go
There's
ahead.
one more, I think. I move to recommend to approve a special exception to allow multifamily use as defined in section 1304.01-1.02.002 at 802 South Duke Street.
Further discussion? Roll call, please.
Johnson.
Aye.
Velez.
Aye.
Burgos. Wolf.
Aye.
Richardson.
Aye.
Motion is approved. Thank you, folks. You're welcome.
This Thursday. That's why I got it. I got it.
I think that was it, wasn't it?
I didn't send Jess the agenda. I did just email her, however, to state that what we had talked about to keep the overlay on. And I guess it was an assumption on my part that she was just gonna come and any more questions and then ask, you know, if you felt comfortable moving it on to city council. So do any of you, so I said I will make sure that if it's going on next month, that she gets a copy of the agenda, because I've just put her first. I mean, you know, is there anything that you would like for me to take back to her specifically? What's that again?
You should bring this back. We tabled it, so we need to make
Yeah.
a motion to bring it back.
You make a motion to call it from the table.
Well, yeah, because it was to be left on as an action item until you were comfortable to move it on to city council.
So do we need to just table to next month,
Do any of you who are present have specific questions, have any more questions that, you know, we do have Blanda here, so you can ask him.
Well, basically, I'd like to know if any of our concerns were addressed, and if so, what was the result?
We should,
I didn't get any formal.
Sorry, I didn't hear your question, Mike.
Well, the questions we had, you forwarded those to her, correct?
She was here with the, and I thought she answered your questions, so I didn't realize that you all had any more questions.
I had questions that I was going to ask her today.
Okay.
Glenda, you can probably answer my questions. but
I'll try. Yeah, certainly.
It's seeming that maybe we need to have Jessica in front of us again.
Yeah, I did speak with Jessica just a couple of minutes ago, and she apologizes to the commission for not showing, but because she didn't receive an agenda, she thought there was some reason why it wasn't going to be on there. But she says that she's more than willing to answer any questions if they're emailed to her, so she can prepare a proper research if you have any questions moving forward. She also wanted me, she said, if I had a chance to speak to you, to remind you, this is not your last bite at the apple, obviously. This is the plan that you're submitting, you're approving to move forward through the process to better engage the public. I mean, obviously, as we know, these are public meetings, but nobody's going to get up and doesn't have a copy. So upon your motion to move forward, recommend approval to council, council then will have it on their agenda and will send it also to the county planning commission for their comments. which I believe they reviewed a draft version of it, and I think she put their concerns into the revised version. And part of that then begins the 30-day public review period, where it will be printed out and available for the public to pick up copies and look at and study. And I assume we would put it as a download online for convenience, that people then can download it and submit comments and questions during that part of that, that important public input for all of that.
Well, one of the questions I had previously was concerning manufactured housing as a possible option for affordability, but that was not included in this overlay at all.
Yeah, because we've spoken about that, because I've been doing a lot of research on manufactured housing to try to find efficient, cost-effective ways, and that's approved more as long as it meets the square. In fact, we just had one. We had a meeting, pre-development meeting with a gentleman on Tuesday, last Tuesday, that is doing manufactured housing, because he meets the square footage and he meets the setbacks. So from a planning commission standpoint, manufactured housing is perfectly fine. Where that comes into play is whether or not he can meet the IBC building code standards with the type of manufactured housing. And in most cases they can, because these guys know what they're doing with manufactured housing.
It's all federally regulated.
Right, exactly. Now, the interesting thing, because I've been researching this a lot, it depends on what version of IBC building codes the municipality enforces. And I believe we use the 2018, maybe? I think the city references the 2018 IBC building code, and IBC just started referencing, and this is a case of steel container housing. They just started referencing those last year, maybe 2022, on how the applicability of that. So sometimes a municipality will reference, it's not technically outdated, but an older previous version of a building code that doesn't really keep up with the changing times. But yeah, anything related to manufactured housing is going to have to be approved by building codes officials, not so much planning. As if they can meet the setbacks and they can meet the density requirements and they can meet the parking requirements and the dimensional variances as needed. Quite frankly, in your case, it doesn't matter what it's made out of, as long as it's made according to codes.
Right, so basically, the majority, like he was saying, because we had a meeting, is zoning first, to see what they can, setbacks and that sort of thing. The only thing that you guys would have to be voting on, for instance, is if he combines the two lots together, or do a reverse subdivision, or something of that nature, if they need it, like stormwater in that instance. It wouldn't be you voting on the type of house, or even with the overlay. For the overlay, it wouldn't be the type of house.
Well, I'm asking if manufactured housing is going to be included with this overlay discussion itself, not just a hypothetical.
No, I don't believe that it can or is, because it's not in the housing world. That's like saying if it has to be brick or siding, or it's the type of construction, not necessarily the dimensional or density of the construction.
She discussed the different models of structures, different units and so forth, but she never mentioned manufactured housing. That's why I'm asking.
Right. Yeah. That's why, because it doesn't. Yeah. It's
more about size and dimensions and less about
material.
Look and materials. So
yeah.
There's the opportunity, I think, for manufactured housing to be included if it fits the dimensions of the overlay. But if not, then I think then it becomes a completely different story. But I think it's maybe a good point to perhaps include.
There already is in the, it doesn't come up very often, but there already is in the City of York Planning and Zoning Code that any new construction has to generally meet the characteristics of the surrounding neighborhoods. And that was an issue that we were talking about with the gentleman we recently met with, because he wants to build it's a small 14 by 40 foot small modular house that's 590 or whatever the math is, 570 square feet. And he approached me actually to try to find out where's the appropriate place where he could do this. And that's not the kind of thing that you would want to put on the 200 block of East whatever street, because everything around you is 2 or 3 stories. And then to have something that doesn't meet that architectural fabric of the community, to have suddenly come along this small little thing sitting in here, small little modular house, they're attractive, but they're just not, they don't meet the cohesiveness. So we have him actually going up on Cottage Hill Road, up above the Commerce Center. There's a couple vacant lots up there that we think that's appropriate. It's not smack in the middle of everything. It's kind of an open area, which makes more sense because, like I said, in the planning code, there actually is this cohesiveness to the surrounding buildings.
Well, my thoughts were more relative to the dense supply side. You know, if you're going to be developing it, if there's going to be any single-family homes included, they can make them to fit designs that are, I guess, acceptable for the area.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, I think it should probably be mentioned as an option in the overlay presentation.
For you mean for?
Include the possibility of manufactured housing as an option.
Yeah, and I think again that goes to construction type and material, not to dimensions. Now there are manufactured houses that are, in fact, there's a great apartment building they made in Pittsburgh recently near University of Pittsburgh that is all modular, so manufactured, and they stack up like 4 or 5 high and 6 deep. It's almost like an IKEA apartment building. It's really impressive, and you know, and technically that's manufactured or modular housing, but it met their required dimensions for height, width, density, living space, all of that. So I think it seems like you're veering a little bit towards constructability or material type than you are dimensions.
Not really. I mean, it's an option for home ownership.
Oh, absolutely.
I mean,
totally agree.
It's 2/3 maybe the cost of stick build, give or take.
Yeah.
So it should be, I would think it should be included as an option in the design of the section of the, you know, fill in, you know, whatever you want to call it, fill in or new construction or development or whatever. Now I can see, I can agree with you. Don't stick in a 200 block of East Market Street. But
right. That's where it has to meet the surrounding areas.
There has, in the past, I utilized manufactured housing as an infill option, but in the city here, some of the lots are only 14 feet wide, which doesn't work too well.
You know, it does actually, where it would apply, and maybe this is more where you're thinking, this does allow use by right of ADUs, accessory dwelling units, which I've been really trying to push that concept onto developers. And in fact, I've been working with Joyce and Richard from Affordable Housing Advocates, who are building a new, hoping to build a new tax credit house for a low-income family. And I suggested they add an accessory dwelling unit in the back, you know, a granny flat, an apartment, that kind of unit that would go in their backyard, a carriage house kind of rental. And that's a perfect example. That's how a lot of these smaller modular manufactured things are being marketed as you know, a backyard dwelling unit. So that's a huge benefit of this overlay, is that it allows that by right. And I have this, I won't bore you with it, but I have a great concept where somebody can be a homeowner and rent out their back accessory dwelling unit to someone else, and it suddenly they become, it even lessens their housing burden even less, because they can, you know, they can get that extra subsidy towards their own mortgage.
Doing that in California.
Yeah, it's huge. It's absolutely, and especially, and we found this a lot in you know, a lot of urban communities. There are mixed generational families. It's very, very common. there's an aunt or a grandma or a mother that lives upstairs or next door, or, you know, that helps take care of the kids, and having the ability to be legally allowed by right to add that on your lot and have an accessory dwelling unit would be phenomenal. That's one of the reasons I'm so excited about this.
Now, this makes me wonder if it was legal, but I have an aunt that lived in an ADU, well, was an ADU here, but I didn't know it to be called that.
Right,
and-
yeah.
But who knows if it was actually allowed where it was, but it was very nice.
They were called carriage houses back in the
And in
day.
fact, my favorite analogy is Happy Days and Arthur Fonzarelli, because the Fonz lived above the Cunningham's garage.
And we currently have that in the city as well.
We do have that in the city as well. Yeah,
Living above somebody's garage.
yeah, and that was in the 50s in suburban Milwaukee.
But if you want an example of a modular home or a manufactured house that's stuck between in a development that doesn't match, go out Roosevelt Avenue, right before you get to where.
Yeah, it looks like a mobile home sitting there. Yeah,
Yep,
yeah.
right before you get to, where,
Before you get to Madison Avenue.
what's
Yeah,
it
it's probably
called?
the 300 block maybe.
Right in between.
Yeah, in between Linden and Madison, I believe it is.
Yeah.
I don't know how long that particular property's been there, but designs have really been updated since then.
Oh, gosh, yeah, some of them are absolutely beautiful now.
Right,
Yeah,
right.
they're really, really nice.
That was just a prime example. That's the one I can pick out to say that it was stuck in there.
In fact, to go a little in a rabbit hole, my ultimate dream from an economic development standpoint is to create an area where York can in fact build modular homes because of our proximity to markets. And we have our own city as a showroom. Our redevelopment authority has 100 vacant lots, and we could certainly show the rest of the world how it can be done. Set up a manufacturing facility somewhere and truck them out on a flatbed all over the East Coast. You can 80% of the population in 13 hours. I mean, it's kind of a no-brainer.
One benefit they have, once they're placed on a permanent foundation, they're eligible for mortgages too.
Correct. And HUD has just recently released guidelines that HUD will now accept them as well. So now there are a lot of low-income communities or tax credit housing programs that are starting that are actually using manufactured housing now because HUD has allowed them now.
Well, I didn't use HUD funding for it, but I used USDA rural housing.
Oh, yeah, rural housing's great too. Absolutely. Yeah.
Well, Blanda, correct me if I'm wrong, though. You have 100 vacant lots. I understand that. But would that necessarily, because if you would put manufacturing homes on there, that wouldn't necessarily need an overlay, correct? I mean, as far as. 'cause
No,
they're
not
all over-
not necessarily.
I mean, they're all
Not
over
at
the
all.
place,
No, not at
right.
all. The ADUs are picked up in the overlay, but yeah, I mean, some dimensional variances maybe, or density or parking would be picked up with
Right,
this.
right, but I'm
if you
saying-
look at Fishtown down in Philadelphia, some of those new redeveloped areas are phenomenal, and they're modular. They're stacked units that people crane into place in 3 days. They're up and running and built, and it really is the urban transformation. You can get these 3-story units now that, like you said, you wouldn't even tell, and they're stick built in controlled conditions, and trucked on site. It's a great opportunity. I've been researching the heck out of it lately.
I'm glad you brought up that one because I've followed some of that development for that project, and it is quite nice.
Yeah, I have a developer I'm working with right now. He has an option on 3 redevelopment authority parcels on South Queen Street, and he's made multiple trips down to Philadelphia to look at different manufacturing houses and how they've done it and pricing them out compared to stick building them on site. And it's darn close, but the savings is in the labor.
Yeah.
And the time, especially in an urban environment. There's no laydown area. There's no place to store materials. It really becomes really challenging. Yeah. I really think that is a solution in York's future. I couldn't agree with you more.
So do you all want to send me your questions, and I'll send them to Jess? And then I will make sure that she gets the agenda for next month and the questions. And I guess it was on my part, the assumption when she said keep it on there as an action item, that she was just gonna be here until you all felt comfortable in moving it along. which we were hoping it was
I
gonna be
would
this
feel
meeting.
really comfortable if we had an update on the comprehensive plan.
Yeah.
Well, y'all got
We're,
my email,
we're, we're
right?
way behind.
You got my email, right?
Yeah, but yes, but that would be nice.
Your email is saying planning, it was scheduled, then it was canceled?
It was because I thought I was supposed to go ahead. I thought they wanted it done sooner than later, but now they said, no, wait. So I'm just telling you it's forthcoming, and I'm trying to get a head count on the outside folks, you know.
I thought it was canceled because of the holiday. Oh, well.
No. No.
But our newest estimated delivery is June, July.
Well, no, nothing like.
So basically, we need to start working on the one after this now in order to get it done in time. Because it was almost done before our former planner left. And it's 4 years late, 5 years late at this point. So before, and I'm going to say this, and I don't care who agrees with it or not, before I make a motion to recommend anything else from C.S. Davidson, including the overlay, this comprehensive plan needs to get done. It needs to get done. So for me, if you would like to send that to Jess, that is very important. And so I will not support anything until the comprehensive plan is at least in front of us so that we can read and prepare for what's next. Because, or else we're going to spend the next 3-4 years working on another one that is due in 5 years. Does that make sense?
I will,
She shouldn't be asking us for anything else before the comprehensive plan is done.
If I could just, one point, I don't disagree with you, somewhat. One of the reasons for, let me back up, once the comprehensive plan is done, the next step will be a zoning rewrite. And one of the reasons that this is presented to you as an overlay is to try to do whatever we can to throw a stone into the gears of the housing crisis and the landlords that are, gouging, and try to create its supply and demand. So we're trying to create density to create supply, which hopefully will help. It's a small step forward, but it's something. And the reason this is presented as an overlay is it should be written into the zoning, but we all know that the comp plan is not even done yet. And then the next step is to rewrite the zoning, which is going to be another comp plan Herculean effort to completely redo it. So this was a stopgap measure, kind of, I don't want to say emergency, but a quick Band-Aid's the wrong word, temporary fix until it can be written into the actual zoning rewrite.
I understand that.
Yeah.
Position still. It's the same. I mean, Landa, we run departments, we have big people jobs, and deadlines are deadlines. We're way past this deadline, and it's quite ridiculous. There's a lot to be done, and this board has to oversee those public hearings about the comprehensive plan, and it's just been, this process has been 5 years, longer than 5 years. We started this before the pandemic.
It was pre-COVID. We were,
And the last due date and the last timeline was last summer. And now we're talking about this summer, so an additional year. I get it. I'm not saying that I'm against it.
like I said, I don't disagree with your timing. Yeah.
This is getting a little out of hand.
I will voice that also in there, but at the same time, I also need any more questions that you would have on the overlay, so I can submit them.
Or something.
Huh?
I don't have any questions.
So,
Other people might.
other than you're okay with the overlay, other than the fact that you don't want it done before?
No, I won't even consider it. It's not even a topic of discussion.
Okay, well, just, anybody else to just give them to me, and I'll.
And just so I can verify, as a fly on the wall, you all have copies of the latest version that you can review in order to ask questions or not?
If it's changed since the last meeting, no.
I don't believe that it has.
I think they have the.
So you do have you all have a copy that you can review for questions. Okay.
Any other items on that topic? I would just like to ask if any of the commissioners have decided to accept the York County Planning Commission's training opportunities.
I did, that's what I wanted to do. Thanks, Mike. I forwarded that to you all. I will say that I do have, it's only $20, it's 3 sessions, is what they used to offer for free, but I guess to get people or whatever. I do have an ask into Nona, into my boss, to ask if there would be a way under my budget to budget that in. She hasn't gotten back to me yet on that for you all to go. Would,
Responded to her and said I would like to be on the list, so just let me know if you're paying for it or do I have to send money.
you responded to who, the forward?
Yeah, there was like a lady that we had, a
Yeah.
New York commissioner or something.
Okay, well, yeah, I kind of wanted to do it as a group regardless, you know, even if I can't get it paid for under my budget, I wanted to say here, these are my 7 members, that want to come to want to go to that.
Let me look at the dates and I'll let you know.
Okay.
March 7th, no, 13th, 20, and 27th.
Yeah, well, Jade is probably gonna, I mean, regardless, you'll probably fall under the budget for the city, so I don't know. But I mean, like at $20, that was my ask. I did I forwarded it to Nona, and I asked her if we could do that, because I think it would be very beneficial and also Monty and myself.
It's the 13th, the 20th, and the 27th.
Of March, all for March, right?
March
Yes.
at 6 p.m. in Dallastown.
Having attended one,
Our meeting?
having attended one of these sessions,
Oh, okay.
having attended one of these sessions prior, I believe you'll find it very beneficial to go.
I'm gonna ask again tomorrow. I'm gonna say, hey, you know what, can I have an update on that?
Anything else? Anybody else have anything for discussion? We stand adjourned.